Good evening and welcome to another Coach Vincent show here tonight at Roosters Men's Grooming at the Tower Center across from the 1890 Ranch. Coach, first time we're talking about a difficult loss that we had, but it was pretty amazing game altogether. I saw a little bit of different offense that we put together, and that was just an amazing game. Before we go into the game, I think people would want to know, what was the feeling the boys had the next day, or the men had the next day in film?
I think the biggest thing is obviously everybody, they're a little bit down because, guys put their heart and soul into things and prepare for teams. And we prepared 2 weeks for this team, so you put even more time in on it. And, to come up short, that's always tough. But our coaching staff and, we believe in the learning lessons that you learn from a loss and a win. And what we try to do as a staff, and this is what I've always tried to do with our players, is when we win, we evaluate ourselves really hard. And then when we lose or come up short, we evaluate ourselves really hard. So if you've developed a consistent pattern on Saturdays of the way you evaluate yourself, a consistent pattern on the way you handle good things and bad things, then I think it really helps our boys focus on improvement, whether you win or lose. And that's what we did. We found a lot of valuable lessons from the film that we learned from. And now the question is, do they go about this week getting those things corrected and getting better from it? So that's the way we approach Saturday.
That's awesome. And the reason why I asked is because we haven't had that type of situation yet. And my son came home, and a couple of other players were saying, "Man, varsity's ready." I mean, they were coming out hard tonight at practice, and they were jumping on everybody to make sure that they were doing their part to help them win. And that was pretty exciting to hear.
I think some guys, we had a lot of good performances in a lot of areas, and then we had some performances that weren't as good. And I think a lot of players, on our team took it on themselves to work to get better today, and we got off to a good start. And that's a good sign when guys take a learning lesson like that and they take it as a challenge to get better. That means that you got some guys that are moving in the right direction.
Definitely. And let's talk about Vandergrift. Start out with offense. I mean, first half. I mean, I saw different things. I'm sure. There was stuff that we weren't expecting, and it was pretty fun to watch. Talk about the offense.
I was so pleased with the way our offense moved the ball in that first half. Just a lot of consistency. Vandergrift, they had a real good defensive plan and made us earn some drives, and then we were able to get some big plays also, some explosives on those first 7 drives. But I thought our offense did a really good job of moving the ball and being consistent, and with our run game and some of our throwing game. I thought our offensive staff and our offensive kids did a really good job in that first half. And the biggest thing that was critical for us was staying on blocks, and our guys did a really good job with that. And then our skilled kids did a good job of finishing runs and finishing routes. And so that was a big reason why they had so much success in that first half.
And then on defense, I mean, we knew going in, they have a couple of weapons and a young quarterback that's been performing, and it showed at times. But I mean, the defense was playing well. Cole Patterson, for example, he was in the backfield all night disrupting things. Talk about the defense.
We had several linebackers. The thing we get to see on tape that everybody else doesn't get to see is we had several linebackers and DBs that probably played their best game of the year. But when you face a really good team, unfortunately, if you don't execute a certain coverage or a stunt or a front, because it all ties together. A lot of times fans see, a guy running wide open and they automatically assume it's this one guy, but it's usually the combination of guys in communication or a stunt not being run properly. And so unfortunately we had some of those kind of errors in the first half, but then we also had some good stops in the first half that allowed us to get a lead. Against a team like Vandergrift, that you gotta keep You got to keep the hammer down because they can come back at any time. They've shown against Elgin to be able to score a lot of points in one half, and a lot of other teams they've been able to do that. And so, the biggest thing that we learned defensively is it really comes back to the fundamentals of getting lined up, communicating well, and being in the right spots. As a coach and as a player, if you're in the right spot and you're executing what the defense is and you get beat, then you get beat. But those were some learning lessons for us. And then the other side of that is they have a great quarterback, great receiver, and one of the best running backs in the state. We talked about him, last week, and those guys tend to force you in those situations also.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely. And something, talk with the players about, the group, this class. But it's positions. I mean, if you really watch, these kids, the linemen, the way that they get together and work with each other, the running backs, and there's something that I thought was really special. One of our linebackers was on the sideline, opposite sideline, injured at one play, and every single linebacker went over there and was there watching over him. And it's really cool to see that team commodity, and it's not just the linebackers; it's every position. And there's a lot of pride with this team.
They've done a really good job of building some pride. Not only as a team, but as a defensive unit, and then as a linebacker core or defensive back group. It's fun. We get to compete in the off season, and then we do some competition stuff from time to time. And it's fun to see them bond together and compete against each other. And the team building stuff that we do and the things that we talk about all the time, it'll show up in a game. And ultimately, as a coach, those are the things that are probably more important than the stage they were on Friday night, because those are things they can carry with them down the road. The ability to care about somebody in need, the ability to rally, the ability to support each other, support someone, and that's what I love about this game and the way we try to teach this game.
Yeah, and it's true. I mean, it's not something that's just going to happen today. It's something that's going to help them when they get older in the business world, and,
absolutely,
et cetera. That there's times where you just have to sit back and look for somebody else and help them along the way.
That's right.
So, all right, let's put Vandergrift behind us.
Okay.
But before we do, let's talk about the players of the week. And
we had some guys that had some good performances. Our offensive MVP this week was Matt Snow. Our offensive back of the week was Isaiah Valaire. Our receiver was Ryan Landrum. Our offensive lineman of the week was Sean Freeman. Sean had a really good game on the edge for us over there. On defense, our defensive MVP was Cole Patterson. Defensive lineman was Jay Mobley. Our linebacker of the week was R.J. Phillips, and our secondary player of the week was Caleb Welch. And like I was saying earlier, some of those guys just had probably some of their better games on defense. Special Forces, our Special Forces players were Bryce Dahl and Diogo Shiramonte. Bryce Dahl, what a big return he had, set us up for a big score in the game. He's electric when he gets the football in space like that. So it was a great return by him.
What was your pulse like though? And that ball was just kind of up in the stands. I was like, oh, he's going to grab that. And you saw those Vandergrift players just kind of standing there, not going for the ball.
Well, he had called our other players. We were trying to set up a return, and he had called our other players off. And we have a call that we make to get everybody away from the football. And he had already done that because the ball hit the ground. And he saw an opportunity and just went. I think once our guys kind of got away from the ball, the Vandergrift guys may have slowed down a little bit too, and he just picked that ball up and was able to get some great yardage. Yeah, great yardage. He's been really smart back there. Been really proud of him and what he's done as a return guy. Our hammer award went to Brennan Eggers. He had several hammers on our counter plays. Did a good job of getting some good kicks for us. Had a real good game. And then our RBI was Jamil Pittman. He had some big blocks downfield for us. Hard hats, I love to mention our hard hats. Our hard hats of the week were Connor Higgins, Seth McAvoy, Jonathan Travis, Jordan Cryer, and LJ Salinas. Those 5 guys, really great job working our scouts and our attack teams, and really coming to work every day of practice and doing a good job.
That's great. And we talk about them every week for that reason right there. And just before we head off and start talking about Dripping Springs, you were talking about Diogo. those highlight there. I mean, we got to see him kick field goals, in game time situations, and you can practice that all you want, but in that game type of situation, that was encouraging to see.
I mean, on special forces, especially our kickoff unit, with the exception of one execution error on kickoff, I felt like that our kickoff unit got better as the night went on, really covering and trying to pin and at least giving them, trying to give our defense good field position. And Diogo did a good job of kicking the ball where we wanted to kick the ball in those situations. But, late in the game, unfortunately, we got into some fourth and really long situations. And percentage-wise, it was, if we could get in a fourth and short, we're definitely going to go for it in a game like we were in. But what we were trying to do in a fourth and really long situation was kick a field goal, get the ball back, try to get an onside kick, and just get another possession is what we were trying to do, just like Vandergrift did right before half. They kicked the onside type kick or the pop-up kick to try to gain a possession, and they executed on it. And so when we got in the fourth and really long situations, he handled it well, and it was good to see him, and that was a real pressure situation for him. So
absolutely,
I was proud of him for that.
Well, let's talk. I mean, this is we got to put last week's game behind us and really start looking forward again. It's 25-5A. There's no easy game, and we're going into Dripping Springs, kind of a hostile environment in a sense. I mean, it's their home turf, a very unique build. I think they have a new stadium coming up next year, but it's still the older stadium where the junior high is. What are we looking forward to? With what to expect with their offense and defense?
They had a really big win last week. Their offense scored a lot of points. They've got two quarterbacks that are good at operating their offense, and they use both of them. Two good tailbacks too. I think their run game, they really have done a good job on their run game, and a lot of it starts up front with their offensive line. They're big up front, do a good job up front with their run game, and then they've got some play action and some run pass options off their run game that makes you also defend the perimeter and defend the passing game downfield, which is similar to what we faced last week, but a little bit different also. They've got four guys that they'll put in the backfield that are good operators and can move the football. On the defensive side of the ball, I feel like every time we go play Dripping Springs, they play great defense, and that's kind of been their deal. They've had a couple coaching changes, but every staff, it seems like that they have there has really done a good job defensively, and they run a 3-4 defense, and they've gotten better at it. Some of those younger players have grown up that they've got coming through. I know Coach is really proud of those younger classes they have coming through, but some of those guys have grown up, and so up front, we're going to have to do a good job. They got 3 down linemen that, it seems like I say that every week, but they've got 3 down linemen that we're really going to have to make sure we stay on blocks with them. They've got 4 linebackers behind those guys that are, they're tall linebackers, they're rangy, they can run, they got long levers. So it'll be real important that our backs know where those guys are and our combos working up to them, that we do a really good job of staying on blocks even with them. I think one of their strengths, on defense too, is they've got 2 good safeties that they put behind their defense this year, and one of them's been in their secondary a while and just a really good all-around player, and does a good job. And so I would say they're one of the better defenses in our district right now, and their stats show that. And they play extremely hard on defense. On special teams, they have a couple guys that can return kicks. That's kind of their deal. Real good at returning kicks. Real solid in their special teams, just like they are every year. So I think they've got a real solid football team. I think they're definitely a contender, for playoff spots. So it'll be another big game, just like you said, every one of them are.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are expecting, since I think it's their 3rd coach in 3 years, kind of, how are they going to go? And they've, as a team, obviously the coaches come in there and really made them believe. And like you were saying, they grow them big out there too.
Yeah, some big guys, and it's pretty much the same offensive staff, and so there's a lot of continuity there. Defensively, they stay with the same defense. I'm not exactly sure how many different hires they made there, but for the most part, they stayed within and kept some continuity for those kids out there, which is always best for that program that's making that kind of change.
Well, I mean, it's going to be crazy. It's at Dripping Springs, like we said, 7:30 p.m. Out in Dripping Springs at the Tiger Stadium. Come loud, come early, be proud, and go Rangers.